Hello everyone, Katie here, aka Peafrog, and you may have recently seen my machinima for the Creature Creation Sparked Challenge, the Frog Princess. I thought it would be fun to do a behind the scenes video all about how I made it, showing you my process, a little about how I made the CC and animations, and a few tips about making a machinima. I am by no means an expert or even particularly experienced in making machinima, but this is how I did it. So let's get right to it. Script and storyboard. I like to approach my machinima projects like a real film. Well, as far as I know, real films are made given my limited experience in GCSE media studies. If you didn't know this, I own a theatre company, so I'm used to writing scripts. My first port of call is to write a little synopsis and some ideas, and then write the script. I actually did the cast for this one before I created the storyboard, but we'll get to all that. After writing a script, I can of course record the voiceovers, so I thought I'd show you some of the storyboard with my voiceover recording.
This is a cautionary tale. Hey, my little lily pads! Froggy kisses! Keep the line moving! Hello, dear. My grandson wanted to give you...
Get rid of this old hag!
Your behaviour is disgusting!
What's happened?
Will you return to your former self?
What? What am I gonna do? At least I can still use my credit card.
The princess tried to console herself, but what use are they to a frog? Despondent, she thought she would explore what the other frogs did. And she realised she no longer had any need for her fancy belongings. Although, with her profile, she was making headlines. So, my dear, are you ready to turn back?
No. Perhaps I'll be a good frog. Casting and costume, aka Cass. So after coming up with my idea and a few bits of script, I created the Sims for the video. I actually decided to use my Sim self for the lead character because I thought that would be funny, and then turned my Sim self into a frog. I used the green skin, made her flat and skinny, and stretched her head and eyes to give her the warty skin detail from Realm of Magic. But to make her look more frog-like, I tried to find some CC for her. I had a bit of trouble finding any frog-like skin, but a friend of mine did point me in the direction of this no-ear CC that's supposed to go under custom ears with spacers, but I thought it looked great for a frog. So, to make the frog skin CC, I used Sims 4 Studio, which is free, and Photoshop, which is not, but you can always use GIMP or other free editing programs to do this. The whole process of making CC is a little too convoluted for this video, but essentially there is a mesh and there is a texture. There's more to it than that, but basically the mesh is the 3D bit of the custom content, the texture is the color of it and all that stuff. So, to prevent myself having to make a mesh from scratch, I wanted to find some clothing items that were as close to the skin as possible and didn't look like fabric on top of skin, because that would have looked super creepy. So I found a mesh of a bikini, and I added some scales over various parts of the body and a little bit of shading, mainly to make her butt look less defined because she is naked. And I also made some custom content t-shirts for her fans, which was a way simpler job. Location scouting and set construction, aka building. I have a secret for you. You see this set? You see this set? This set? They're all pre-made rooms and houses from the game. Well, I did make some of it from scratch. I knew I needed the bedroom, the convention centre and the pond, which is actually adapted from my 100 Baby Challenge build. So I made those, and then for the montage of fans receiving gifts, I just used rooms and builds from the game as and when I needed them, with a few additions and changes here and there. As we go through the raw footage, you may also see some random green walls, or blue, or red, for chroma keying, aka green screen, which was essentially so that I didn't have to do everything within the game. Animations. After planning what we were going to see the characters do in the machinima, I needed to figure out how to make the Sims look like that's what they were doing. To force the Sims into animations you want, rather than engineering gameplay to make those animations happen, you need a mod called Andrew's Pose Player. Another useful mod you'll probably see is the Sims Teleporter by Scumbumbo, but you can technically do all this without it, and I will link both of those below. Now, there are a lot of animations in The Sims 4, and there is a list that comes from within the game itself, so most of the time I will search for words in that, like idle when I need the Sims to stand in a queue, or various animations from the mischief category for when the main character is mocking the old woman. But there are some animations that just aren't in the game, and for those you need custom animations from members of the community. I found that YouTube is the best place to search for these, as a lot of Machinima directors have made their own playlists of their favourite animations, and you can watch them there before you download them. Another great place, of course, is asking in Discord servers with other creators, because then you can ask for very specific things, as I did to find the CC of blank ears, and someone might be able to send you a direct link to the one they use. Of course, if what you need isn't in the game and can't be found online, somebody needs to make that animation. For my last Spark story for Destination Wedding, my friend Izumini actually offered to make a few custom animations for me, which was so nice. And they looked awesome. But I've always wanted to try making my own, so I thought I'd give it a go. I watched a few tutorials, and I got Blender up, and I had a play around. I started off using the basic rig that comes with Sims 4 Studio, and I had a bit of trouble getting her to stay on the ground, as you can see here. I did ask a few friends how I could fix that, but it turned out I couldn't with the rig I'd started with. So my options were to either start again with an entirely new rig that I'd never used before, or struggle on, and I am a very stubborn person. So if you see her feet randomly wiggle around if you download the animation, then that's why. I'm a beginner, I had no idea what I was doing, but they turned out totally fine for this, and as my experience in theatre has taught me, you can get away with a lot that the audience can't see or won't notice and still end up with a great end product. And you can download the CC and animations if you'd like, and it would be awesome to see what you do with them. I've already been told that the squatting idol looks like Gollum, so someone out there needs to make a Lord of the Rings machinima. Shooting. So, all the pre-production is done, and it's time to get in-game and capture the footage. In case you're wondering, I use OBS to capture the game as opposed to the in-game camera because it's just better. So, I use the teleporter and Andrew's pose player to put the Sims in position, search through the list and set up the animations, or use the animations I made myself, and use the game's cinematic camera by pressing tab and setting up camera positions with Control and 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 buttons. James Turner has a great tutorial on this which I will link below. Now you may have noticed in my video that the frog is a lot smaller than everybody else. I could have made a giant set for her to move around, but precisely recreating it would have been really difficult, so I actually did a lot of green screen, or actually red screen, since she's green. I'm going to call this chroma keying for the rest of the video because it ain't green screen if it's not green, is it? Fun fact, the colour is totally irrelevant for the actual effect you apply in post-production. It can be anything, but the reason you use green screen is that human beings are not green. If you use the same colour as the person, they would also disappear with the background, so you use a colour that's the opposite of the actor. My actor was unfortunately green, so I used red so that it was the opposite. That's also why occasionally the inside of her mouth disappeared because it's quite a red colour inside, and I had to do a mask layer on it to stop the background showing through when she spoke. Editing. Aside from, of course, cutting all the shots together and syncing up animations with the dialogue as best I could, most of the work in the editing stage was with all the chroma keys. For the backgrounds, I quite often used in-game screenshots, just pressing C, and I think you'll be surprised how much of this is actually chroma keyed. Just an extra note here, I use Premiere Pro for editing, and sometimes I'm using the color key, and sometimes I'm using the ultra key. They're a similar effect in the program, but they have different outcomes. But it's essentially the whole chroma key, green screen vibe. It's all the same sort of deal. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. You might be aware of how crazy the in-game camera goes when you're up high or in apartments. So all the shots of inside her bedroom were actually on the ground floor in Newcrest, not in San Myshuno. So I thought I'd show you guys how I created a few of the shots where I used chroma key to make the frog look like she's tiny.
Under the Greenwood tree, who loves to lie with me and turn a merino unto the sweet bird's throat. Come hither, come hither, come hither, it shall see no enemy but interrupt with her. Come hither, come hither, come hither, it shall see no enemy but interrupt with her.
Visual effects. Some people have been curious about the actual transformation shot. It was actually far easier than it looked. So here's a sneak peek into that shot using a few in-game cheats, screenshots, royalty-free stock VFX, and video effects added in Premiere Pro.
Come hither, come hither, it shall see no end or people interrupt with her. Come hither, come hither, come hither, it shall see no end or people interrupt with her. It shall see no end or people interrupt with her.
I also used stock footage of a splash for the very end of the video because I thought it looked cool. Graphics. There are a few bits of this video where you either see a computer, tablet or phone screen with a website or an app on, and of course I had to create these. I could have just used screenshots of real websites or apps, but I didn't want to use anybody's copyright or throw any specific websites under the bus in my satire. And I also wanted to throw in a few puns, so sue me. Few of these shots also moved, so tracking them was really annoying. But I learned my lesson by the time I got to this phone shot, because that is a static shot that I zoomed into after I'd added the phone screen in. Another part people were curious about was the streaming website I created, so I thought I'd go into a little bit of detail about how I did that. So I started by going onto my friend Cadely's stream, Cadely Creates, and I started covering up bits of Twitch. I took Cadely out, sorry about that. I covered up the edges and put the search bar over here to cover up that part of the screen. I then added in a URL of the new website and the tab at the top with the logo. I then added in my own version of the top bar of a gaming website next to the search bar. Then I added in some features for a live chat, a logo, some info about the streamer and whether or not you're following or subscribed to them or not, which this person watching is. And then I needed something down the side to be the icons of who's live. And so you may recognize some of these people. Obviously, Princess Froggy Pants is at the top because she's a pretty successful streamer. And this person here, she's okay. She shows up at least, but she's not exactly that huge, is she? And then we take this into Premiere Pro, and we need a live chat. We need a fast-moving, energetic chat that you would see on a big streamer. And so, of course, it was really easy to just take some footage from my stream. That is, of course, a lie. There were about 5 of us chatting in my stream at the time, and I asked everybody who was at the computer at the time, who wasn't lurking, to send a load of messages saying how much they loved the streamer and how amazing they were, which is why also a couple of them say Katie and P, because they were trying to be nice to me. So that's fun. And how does it look like thousands of people moving really quickly? Well, I sped up the footage and repeated it. Yes, that is the secret of how it looks like that. And then I did a few pixelation effects on the streamer herself to make her look like she was being live streamed and to add a bit of difference between the footage of her in person and the resolution when you'd be watching a stream live. And there you have it. Sound design. When it comes to sound, of course, I've got my voiceover for the dialogue and narration, but to really immerse the audience in the world, a few sound effects and a bit of ambience makes a big difference. For the crowd noise in the convention scene and the crickets at night, I used single sounds from the amazing Free Sound, which I highly recommend. For other parts, like the ambience at the pond, I used multiple sounds and put those together. So there was a forest ambience, the sound of a river, and frogs. And that also goes for the magical spell when she shrinks. That is a whole bunch of sounds. Sometimes there are sounds that you need that you can't find stock SFX for, and for that, you need Foley. Foley is the reproduction of everyday sound effects that are added to films, videos, and other media in post-production to enhance audio quality. And by reproduction, they mean a person makes that noise. So when she jumps around her room, that's me sliding my hands across each other, tapping the palm of my hand, and patting the keyboard. Music. Another part of the sound is, of course, music, and I happen to be lucky enough to have a partner who's a composer, and he has a lot of music I can use for my projects. You will have also heard one of his songs in my Destination Wedding video. And for Attack of the Cowplants, my mock action movie trailer, he actually composed a whole bespoke soundtrack.
Cowplants are going to eat us!
Hopefully, that covers everything you wanted to know about my little machinima. Since this was more of an overview of the whole project, I didn't have the chance to go really in depth with any one area, but I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about it. If there's anything else you're curious about, please do let me know in the comments and I will certainly get back to you. And there's a link in the description to the animations and the frog skin CC I made, and also the Frog Princess video itself. Thanks for watching and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!